Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. Today is our Tuesday, Super Bowl 59 recap episode. Last night, we reached the end of a long, winding, thrilling, sickening, glorious, depressing, fun-filled, drama-inducing, maddening, uplifting season. It was everything betting is supposed to be. We won some, we lost some, we made good calls, bad calls, got lucky and unlucky. Unfortunately, we cannot bet an NFL game for another 7 months, which feels like a lifetime. As such, our schedule does adjust a little bit. The favorites will take Thursday off this week and next week. Just one episode this week, one episode next week. After that, we return to our normal Tuesday, Thursday off-season schedule as we did last year. The show will still be primarily NFL betting, focused free agency, draft, futures, thoughts on modeling, off-season prep, all that kind of good stuff. We will have some special episodes for the biggest betting events, such as the Oscars coming up in a couple of weeks. But now, live from our Tommy John home studios, I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be depressed better or a really happy Eagles fan? Tell me what I should do on the show today.
I'll tell you exactly what you're going to be. Okay? Because you told me last night what you were. Me, you, and Matt Mitchell were texting. It was the last text we got from you. It was right before I went to bed. As everyone knows, you're an avowed Eagles fan. And the text was, "This is the greatest night of my life." So let's hear it. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, I definitely had a good night. Broad Street, Philadelphia, man. No better place to be after you win a championship. No, surreal, honestly. Watch with some friends, end up going to the sports book once I saw how big we were up, and I'm like, I'm gonna go try to cash some of these tickets right now. I was just had a little too much to drink, feeling way too good. Had a buddy just drive me all around Philadelphia, good guy. And yeah, I would say not that I knew right away as an Eagles fan, but when that pick six happened, I mean, the sports book I thought was going to collapse on itself, but like in my own mind, I was just like, it's over. They have broken something. Mahomes does not ever make that type of mistake, and the fact that he gets the ball back and next play throws another pick to the Zach Braun, I'm just like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. Just because, I would say any Eagles fans has this feeling that we are losers. If you're a Philadelphia sports fan, your whole life, you basically have lost, and you're always waiting for the worst thing to happen. And all I could think about was the 28-3 Falcons, honestly. And when they got that next pick, easy touchdown pass to AJ, and the Eagles basically had more points in the first half, 24, than the Chiefs had yards, 23. You knew it was over. There's just no way. Doesn't matter what happens in the locker room. Like, not to make fun and shit on that Atlanta team once again, but it's like their defense is not comparable to this Eagles defense. And I just remember thinking, there's no way this is going to let down. So, yeah, did some really crazy moves, end up on Broad Street at the end of the game. And, yeah, just an insane fan base. Like, I was talking to our producer before he came on, GIF. It's like there's people out there who have tons of love in their heart and happiness, and there's other people out there that are just evil and mischievous. And, I saw some horrible shit, but I saw a lot of great shit. So nothing short of expected in Philadelphia. And it's just everyone's in shock. Like, everyone just kept saying to each other, I can't believe we did it. I can't believe we beat Mahomes and Tom Brady. Like, you're going to beat the best to be the best. That's the definition of it. So, yeah, obviously you can see I'm still riding pretty high. It's surreal. I've probably slept 2 hours, so I'm losing my mind a little bit. I'm just so fired up.
So let me get some business out of the way, but I have some thoughts on what you were just saying. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Now, new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code Favorites. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. I saw these pictures from Broad Street last night, and tell me where you were standing. Tell me a little bit about what you saw, because just the images seemed like you couldn't get close and that it was mayhem packed inside of chaos, wrapped in a bow of complete and total ear splitting, universe coming apart phenomenons.
Sure. Well, if you don't know the layout of the city, basically Broad Street, it's basically a road that runs from north all the way to south, and our city hall is in the middle of it. And like basically, it's huge, Chad. So I mean, you can get into Broad Street pretty easily. The hardest part, if you're trying to make your way to City Hall, yeah, you're going through tons of bodies, especially if you're going from north to south. Where I was at, like again, there was a ton of people, but it's like, you probably walked 10 blocks because you're just walking all along. Everyone's just walking up and down, celebrating all together. So yeah, it's jam packed, but it was pretty easy to move around. The crazy thing is people shooting off fireworks like in the city in between these massive buildings. People are just shooting off fireworks. It's surreal to see. It really is. It's like the craziest thing ever. People getting married and shit, getting engaged in front of people. I joke a gift. I saw, people that are doing things they shouldn't be doing, cops taking it to a level they shouldn't take it to, but they're trying to control the mayhem, and it was just,
Yeah.
it was really great for 2 hours. And then once it hit midnight, like one, the gremlins really did come out. Like the water got on their backs, and all of a sudden it went evil mode. Like you just saw, I was just remember turning to the friend I was like, "You ready?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here." Because again, he's just like me. He's in his mid-30s, and it was like, all right, I've had enough. He was sober. He was a true trooper. I can't get over it. I was blacked out, so I'm like, in my mind, I was like, "This is the best night ever." But even I was like, "Okay, it's time to go." Like this is getting a little crazier. But yeah, like it's anyone to tell you that wins a Super Bowl, it's surreal. It doesn't set in, but it's 1,000 times better because losing is just so horrible. Where like it affects you so horribly and just weighs on you until the following season, which like you just said, it's super depressing. It's like 200 days away. Thank God we won, because it's just, especially someone like me who's like our Jalen Hurts truther. It's like, holy shit. What are they gonna say now? They can't say anything. It's the best. It really is. It's too much. I get why people absolutely hate Eagles fans, because even like last night, hearing these people talk, it's like, calm down. He's not better than Lamar. Okay, people, let's bring it down a level. But everyone's just so high right now. Everyone's just flying that we're just so happy for Hurts. He just was so much doubt, so much hate, and in 2 Super Bowls he stepped up both times. It's crazy.
I was texting with my kid who's at Drexel, and he has so many friends who are from the New Jersey area, because Drexel's a pretty local school, who are all freaking out. One of his friends that he lives with is a massive Eagles fan, watches every game. He had friends who were racing to get to Center City, around where Broad Street is, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, dude, stay off the streets. Do not go to Broad Street
Oh,
right now. But he was going to, dude, you think he listens to me?
he
He's
went
21 years
good.
old.
Yeah, because it wasn't that bad.
No. And I don't know if he went or not. He's texting me this morning about something else and isn't answering any of the questions I have. So I'm sure he ended up having a fine night. But Philly fans, having been in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, I've gone to Super Bowls for so many years, right? And a lot of times you ask media members, and they've all got these pet theories on which team is going to win based on what's happening on the ground. And I have more than one media member friend who says they can they will put their money on the team that has more fans in town over the course of the week. And this was a blowout for Eagles fans in New Orleans. On my flights down, it was all Philly fans. When I was on the ground, it was all Philly fans. EAGLES chants were breaking out everywhere. All you did was see green. You did not see any Kansas City Chiefs fans. And then before the game started, my younger son, had about 10 of his buddies over. And, these are very engaged kids when it comes to sports. And we were watching the game, and we were all commenting on how much the stadium sounded like it was an Eagles home game. And that was the moment, Simon, where I was like, oh, fuck, we're going to lose these bets. That's actually when I thought of it. I'm like, when that Eagles crowd went crazy, I'm like, shit, I think we're in bad shape.
I know. No, that honestly didn't matter because that to me it made sense the fact that there was more Eagles fans in my opinion just because we have a bigger fan base than Kansas City Chiefs. I know they've been incredible this little
Of
run here,
course, it all
but
makes sense. Like the
yeah,
Chiefs have been there
yeah,
twice in a row. Who's going to spend for the third time? The Eagles fans are it. The Eagles fans are, in a weird way, they're a great mix of sort of, like we've called them, they're Philly scumbags, right? And we say that
yeah.
in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
You're from Philly. I love Philly. Like, I think it's such a great city. I love the people there. We had the event there. It was so much fun. Like, I love Delco. I wrote the book with Vince Papali. I just think I'm a huge, huge Philly as a city, team, personality, culture, citizenry fan. Fucking love it. Um, couldn't agree more with you about like the ebullience, the enthusiasm, the love, the hate, the passion for Eagles fans. It's pretty hard to meet that.
Yeah, and when I again the reason I didn't think it was a big deal there was 10 Eagles fans is because they've leaned into being the villain, this Kansas City Chiefs team. So when they came out and it was tons of boos, I was like, this is only going to fuel them even more. They just ran into an absolute juggernaut, and we're going to get into it here, but obviously
Yeah.
Mahomes' worst game of his career, no doubt about it. So like that's the game we always joke about where we can run my little simulations. You can talk all you want about the matchup. At the end of the day, it's all out the window when the game starts. And if you run 10,000 simulations, that game happens. I don't know, 50 times tops. Like Eagles blowout roll. Mahomes throws pick six, has three turnovers. Just horrible. He was absolutely horrible. So yeah, I would say on our Chiefs bet, didn't feel a ton of confidence on it. Felt like it was the right side because of the history we've been betting it. But I did feel really confident on that under. And that one definitely hurt where it's like, stupid plays happened. And basically, once it's a blowout, none of your modeling, none of that stuff matters. It's going to be a totally random game from that point forward. And it's like, if a couple little things break people's way, they're going to hit this over. And yeah, Mahomes staying in, playing the full game, scoring 14 points in the final 3 minutes, absolute killer to that under. So yeah, it just was not our day, brother, on the betting side.
So look, we had described this Super Bowl kind of it was all upside because of our future positions, right? You had a lot of futures exposure on the Chiefs over the Eagles in the Super Bowl, but you also had a ton of opportunity with the Eagles and a bunch of futures you would bet on them throughout the year, both matchup and just to win the Super Bowl when you could get good numbers. I think you told me you got them at 20-1 a couple times, in the middle of the season when they were 2-2. I felt the same way because I had the Eagles Chiefs matchup paying out at 28-1 before the game. So a lot of my bets this weekend were about maximizing upside while protecting my downside. And as you've alluded to, given our positions on the Chiefs, given the under, I turned out I needed a lot more downside protection because our Chiefs positions just did not come through for us. We had Chiefs -1.5, Chiefs money line. Primarily, the under was our big balls, but because it was the Chiefs and because it was the Eagles defense that was really doing the damage, I kept thinking like in the second half, I would say when it was 17-0, I was still thinking, all right, Chiefs go down, they score a touchdown, get ball in the second half, 17-14. But that AJ Brown touchdown that you mentioned, that seemed out of character as being too easy. To me, that was a tough one to swallow.
A little bit, but again, it's just Mahomes had a meltdown, brother. It's like he throws that pick six and then throws that one out there, and it's like you're about to give up 14. Your defense did really well. Like we didn't
Yeah,
even
that's
talk
what I
about, they
mean.
just absolutely dominated Saquon, and you know, I love that Hertz was able to take advantage of the one-on-one matchups because we knew coming to the game. It's like we obviously thought Mahomes was going to step up, but it was like Hurts had to have to step up in these big moments and make big time throws. And they kept taking advantage of the one on one matchups, right? Because they were so hyper focused on stopping the run. But at the same time, it's like, he's throwing against all pro corners. Like, it's not like it's a layup. And the safeties, how great the tackling by the safeties of the Chiefs, too. It's like, can't understand enough where they kept coming up. Anytime Saquon
Yeah.
was about to break one, they met him in the moment and stopped him. And yeah, like we were saying, it's 10-0. Mahomes has the ball. The Eagles were kind of letting them stay in it, and it's like, okay, if you could put a drive here, they can get back into this game. And like we just said, that pick six, then another turnover right afterwards. That does not happen with Mahomes. It was so out of character, and just the how he drafting that D line. It's incredible how dominant they were in that game. We talked a little about leading up to it that we knew the Eagles had a big advantage of it, especially you're giving them 2 weeks to break down tape on that Chiefs offensive line. They were going to know their weaknesses and where to attack it. But even that, it was, you couldn't believe how hard they played the whole game. Like even the second half, they're still getting sacks, still getting pressure, still have somehow had fresh legs. And it's like, we knew coming in, it was the same thing we talked about with Brady and Mahomes. Now he's lost 2 Super Bowls the same way. If you get pressure with four, that's the only way to beat them. That's the only kryptonite. And I've watched pieces of it. Obviously, I wasn't in a stable mind, but going back watching some of the All 22, if they weren't getting that front four pressure, this game would have been way closer. Like he had open guys streaking down the field. He had a lot of options in this game, Mahomes, but he just was never right. Even early on when they weren't getting tons of pressure, like that first 2 3 and outs, he was missing easy passes to Kelsey, and Kelsey's dropping the ball a couple times, and it's like everything just went wrong though for this Chiefs team. So yeah, the Eagles better as we talked coming into it too. Like all the pros I know that were betting the Eagles after the game, yeah, they were super confident like that. But I was with them in the books. Everyone before the game is like, have I made a huge fucking mistake going against Mahomes? And it's like, you know, that's the issue we had coming into this. Is just we've been burned so many times in this exact scenario where Mahomes did beat the better team. This is how you have to beat them. You have to literally cut the guy's head off. You have to be up by 24 and don't take the foot off the gas. Like that, that deep ball by by Hurts, Devontae Smith was my favorite play of the whole game because that was like their fuck you. You ain't getting back in this. We are not slowing down at all. And that was really soul crushing to the Chiefs. It was at that point 34-0, game over, no doubt about it. So, yeah, just Kellen Moore, incredible play calling by him as well in this game.
So it's interesting. This was such a no clear edge game, right? I don't know if you've seen a Super Bowl like this, but it's rare where it really is about opinion. And everybody knows everything that the model says. Everybody knows everything about where the advantages are and the disadvantages are. And if you were betting one side or the other, it's not because you saw anything different than anybody else. You didn't have the secret formula. Your model wasn't so much better. It was just you either believe in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid or you believe in the overall talent of the Eagles. Have you ever seen anything like that? I don't think I've seen something like that where there's no real number edge and it's all opinion.
A little bit. I mean, honestly, the most shocking part was how simple it was to break it down at its core. Like Mr. Joe Public's coming to the sports book saying the same thing as professionals are saying,
Yeah.
which is Eagles have the better team, but I like the quarterback and Andy Reid. And it's like, everyone basically had the same view of it. It's just, um, yeah. The most shocking part was that there was no one coming in betting just big money, right? There was no pro groups I knew that were taking huge stands on the Eagles and vice versa. It's like I knew some really smart, respected money who put huge money on the under, and obviously that got smoked. But it was like, this number never ran from Eagles minus or Eagles plus 1.5 all the way to Eagles -2 or Eagles -1.5. Like that never happened just because, pros were scared to put up such huge money against Mahomes in the spot. But obviously not all of them. Like I said, there's a lot of really smart guys who did come to the other side, but it was always them betting it because what we talked about, it was like, okay, their model makes it Eagles is the favorite. They trust their model. That's how they got here, and they bet it. And yeah, we trusted the trends and the Mahomes factor of if he keeps this game close, he'll steal it in the end. And 2 Super Bowls now that he's lost, he's been absolutely blown out in both. And looking in the future or people looking back on this, it won't tell the whole picture, right? 40-22. This was really a 40-6 type of game. Like this was a total domination. So yeah, I would say the 2 happiest fan bases right now are the Eagles and the Patriots fans. Holy shit, have they been loud about Mahomes being humbled and Chiefs fans being humbled. And yeah, they get to hold on to Brady still being the GOAT, no doubt about it. Brady ain't getting blown out like that. I mean, he's never been blown out in any Super Bowl like that. Any of his losses, he always was basically in a one possession game. So tough day for Mahomes and his GOAT talk. Obviously, still one of the greatest, but as someone that goes through the history of football, it's still Brady. It's still Joe Montana, right? Joe Montana 4-0. I know it's a different era. Fucking A, it's 40 years ago, that Super Bowl. But come on. Like, you have to give some respect to the past. And it's when you look at that stuff, how impressive that is. Joe Montana go 4-0. It's insane. So, yeah, he's 29, Mahomes. He'll have plenty of opportunities. But, man, that was pretty humbling to them and that fan base because they printed the three-peat shirts, Chad. They were feeling themselves. So, yeah, pretty wild that game just got absolutely blown out.
Well, look, Mahomes has been to 5 Super Bowls in 7 years, and he's not even 30 years old.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to get back there. I do think that the 2 times he's been blown out, like you said, it's been about pressure up the middle. And this offensive line, the entire season, has been the Achilles heel for this team. It's where all the penalties are, it's where all the bad play is, especially on the edges. They know what they have to do. They can be really confident about Xavier Worthy. They might need to figure out a little bit of help in the running game. They got to figure out Travis Kelce. I think they can be really confident in their defense. Um, but I was just surprised that over the 2 weeks, Andy Reid did not figure out where he was going to get extra support and protection for Patrick Mahomes. And then they couldn't make that adjustment in the second half. Like, what was your take on that? Did you see anything? Like, I'm just astonished that they couldn't. We were betting on Andy Reid doing the right thing and finding a way to protect his quarterback, and he never did it.
But there was no adjustment to be made for them, unfortunately. And that was probably the toughest part of that game is that, to me, they did have some couple of things planned and scripted. Like I said, when people go back and watch, there are open guys and there are timing routes where if the Eagles weren't so dominant on the front four, Mahomes would have had a pretty solid game. Well, eventually got in a rhythm, but he never got into a rhythm at all. Like that was the most damning part of that first half was they never let him get into a rhythm and they just kept bringing the pressure of the front four. And, there were no adjustments to be made because they didn't have the pieces. Like if you're the Bills and the Ravens or even the Bengals, wherever, Myles Garrett or whatever, you just need to attack the edge rusher. Like there's a path to beating this Chiefs team and taking down how great they are. And we've seen it now. It all starts on that front four. Like you have to find guys that are difference makers. And, Eagles been very lucky in the draft. Howie's done a great job that basically all those guys were draft picks. Like we had no free agent guys on that starting unit. So, obviously you need a draft well, but there's other ways to go about it. But, Andy Reid, his plan was quick passes and try to establish the run game. Could never establish the run game, and on their quick passes, Mahomes never could stand in the pocket, like you just said. The middle was always collapsing, so he was either always having to step up, which they were planning on. Like they never had the edges rushes too far upfield. Again, it was just total domination by Vic, and we talk all the time about how important coaching is. You saw it on both sides of the ball, and that Eagles OC and DC were both out coaching the other team's offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. So. Yeah, that to me was an advantage we thought we had with the Chiefs, and it wasn't any way like you just said. And the unfortunate part for them is they didn't have the guys to make the adjustments. Like there is no guy that you can move around the offensive line to help fix your problem. Like they've made the moves. It's done. What's done is done with the Chiefs. So yeah, they're in a weird spot where because they aren't drafting great, it's going to be hard to improve that offensive line. Like they don't have the money to go out there and get another guy. They've spent the money, right? They have an all-pro center, an all-pro guard who had to kick out to tackle. Like it's just too much. So yeah, for this Chiefs team, like Chad just said, we expect them to be back, but you also could say to yourself, they have a lot of things that are about to change going forward, right? They're most likely going to lose Kelsey to retirement. Like it's going to be different here going forward for this team. So, pretty interesting to see that they are the favorite right now at a lot of books for next year's Super Bowl, where, these other teams that they've been beaten up on, they're all improving as well, like the Bills and the Ravens. So, yeah, I'm looking ahead right now, but just looking at this right now, people want to say, well, the Eagles just gave out the blueprint. That's like saying Tampa gave out the blueprint on how to beat Mahomes, right? That's just lazy, stupid talk. So the adjustments will be made by this Chiefs team. We know how impressive and great they are. It's just, what are they going to do if they don't have the money to attack that offensive line? To me, that's the biggest weakness on this team right now is that offensive line.
I want to get on the other side of our next ad read and talk a little bit about futures. I got a couple other things that I want to review because once our Chiefs bet was dead, we still had a lot of bets in play, and like it made the game really exciting and happy for about, if you were not a diehard Eagles fans, that we can talk about for a second. Simon, as America's beloved longtime Long Island poet laureate Billy Joel once sang, "Here we are in the ninth, two men out, three men on, nowhere to look but inside, where we all respond to pressure." And at the risk of mixing sports metaphors, last night's Super Bowl was a masterclass in building and responding to pressure in all definitions. General sports culture applied pressure to the Chiefs to three-peat. The Eagles pressured Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady's inane commentary put tremendous pressure on the patience of a weary nation. But no matter what kind of pressure listeners at home may be feeling, there's one surefire way to reduce it: the breathable, flexible comfort of Tommy John. Experience Tommy John's comfortable and luxurious essentials for both men and women, and release the pressure valve on your own life. The softest shirts, the highest quality underwear, everything you need to live better and move unburdened into the NFL offseason. And with a special sale for our listeners, scrambling safely away from pressure just got even easier. Simon, why will you be wearing Tommy John in 2025?
Because comfort is king.
Right now, you can shop TommyJohn.com/favorites and get 25% off your first order. Save 25% at TommyJohn.com/favorites. That's TommyJohn.com/favorites. All right. So in the second half of the game, I moved from the living room where my son and his boys, 10 of them, were watching the game. And I got to say, it was a blast watching with them in the first half. They all had very serious opinions on the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. They freaked when Serena was shown. They were maybe a bit too interested in what the first song was going to be and whether or not it was an unreleased song. I'll leave that to everybody's imagination about why they might have been interested. In the second half, when it was all clear my Chiefs bets were dead, I still had so many props alive. And I don't know about you, Simon, it felt like every play in the second half was make or break. And I still had a lot of optimism and a lot of enthusiasm. I don't know about you.
It was fun, but I'm definitely like the people I was with were like absolutely hating on me because I had basically all under props on Saquon and just being super negative. Every time he got stuffed, I was like, yes. And the no touchdown prop was just a great bet. And I remember, you know, I don't know how many people it was, but you basically, you probably heard it as well. It was like 99% of the bets were on his touchdown
Oh yeah.
prop. And, when you hear that stuff, it's like, okay, got to be Scrooge here. Got to go the other way. Got to take no touchdown. And it is crazy. It was plus 150. But yeah, I would say the happiest moment for me was definitely Devontae Smith getting that touchdown. Basically hit his over prop, hit his anytime touchdown. And, shout out to our guy, Chris Raybon. He gave out Devontae Smith, and it might have been him and Sean gave out Worthy touchdown, like that parlay. So that was a really nice hit as well. So yeah, it's why we bet props, right? It's even if your bet's dead on the game, you still have a ton of fun. But for someone like me personally, yeah, as soon as I lost that under, it was going to be a losing day no matter what. Like I was really heavy on the under, so I wish I could bet more on props. It's just a limited market. The books are smart that way, but when it comes to totals and sides, they'll take all my money I want to give to them. So yeah, unfortunately, ate away at some of it, but yeah, got crushed on that game going over. It was tough.
Uh, the two props I was sort of going back and forth on. One was Devontae Smith, which cashed and was great. You gave it away on Convince Me. You gave him over 50 plus yards, and he was having a great game. You also gave away Devontae Smith to lead the game in receiving yardage, which I had bet, but I also bet Sean Kerner gave out on Convince Me yesterday a 40-1 triple play that through the first half wasn't awful. It was Hurts to lead the game in passing yardage, Barkley to lead in rushing yardage, Xavier Worthy to lead in receiving yardage. And also there was the Xavier Worthy anytime touchdown that Nick Giffen was talking about all week. That cash, that was great. But um, about midway through the third quarter, when Xavier Worthy finally started to sort of get into gear, that 40-1 prop, the triple play, was totally in play. And the logic that Kerner had was Barkley will, even if he's not getting a lot of yardage, will have so much volume. He's got the highest ceiling to lead the game in rushing. And it was there. That prop was right there until about midway through the third when no, midway through the fourth, Jalen Hurts scrambles for 17 yards, bypasses Barkley. And you knew after that there was like one or two series left. He was getting bottled, and then he was off the field, and then that prop was dead. But for a second, it felt like that prop was going to clean up all my mess during the day.
Yeah, nice hit by anyone that bet Hurts to lead the game in rushing. I believe it was 6-1, 7-1, a lot of books. So that was a nice bet. People that hit it.
Yeah, good for everyone. I mean, there were a lot of bets like over the course of the week that people were hitting. You're right about that. People talked about that were a little bit long shots. Nick Giffen on Bet What Happens Live gave out a Devontae Smith plus 950 to score a touchdown in the second half. Some really fun long shot bets that were cashing. That under was a little bit of a kick in the dick.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'd love to be pissed at Andy Reid for keeping Mahomes out there, but like it's Super Bowl stats. So it's like, why would he not go out there and not keep trying to sling the ball? Like he should try to pad his stats. Like, cause it basically I mean, people are going to bring it up. Like he was probably at one point was at negative 45 points in all 5 of his games total. Like, cause every time he's won by what? Like 3 points and 6 points. And now his 2 losses were both absolute blowouts. So I got why Mahomes was trying to get that numbers back up. he's a competitor, right? He's in his mind, he's never really dead. So yeah, that was just brutal. It's like, you know, it was always going to go over, right? We've seen this time and time again when there's an outrun like that, a huge blowout type of game. Unless the other team just totally gives up, it's going to go over, and Mahomes is never going to totally give up. So yeah, it's crazy this game, you know, and where one side was up 34-0. The fact that this did reach 62 points is pretty insane.
There was a point, I had bet Mahomes under 36 and a half pass attempts. And then I had also bet him under 255 and a half passing
Nice.
yards. No, it's not. The under on the pass attempts is great. He had 202 passing yards going into that last drive when he got the ball at the 50. First play, there was a 50-yard touchdown. I forgot who caught it, but
It was worthy.
it was worthy. He ends up with 257
Oh, it's brutal.
passing yards. Last play of the game, I had like the two bets that like I still had a shot to cash that were not props, like, parlay long shot props were passing attempts and under Mahomes passing yardage. Got the passing attempts, got it canceled right out by that 50-yard bomb to Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. That was fucking brutal.
Yeah, some brutal beats. Definitely a lot of people had Carson Wentz to take a snap in the game.
Oh
That was a
yeah.
bad beat because they just never put him in, even in junk time. And someone like me got crazy lucky. I gave on the show as a non QB have a pass attempt, but a lot of people like me also bet anyone other than the starting two quarterbacks to have a pass attempt in the game. God bless you, Kenny Pickett came in, threw just a nothing ball, but got us that cover. So
Fourth and six.
again, it's just all
Fourth
so
and six.
stupid.
Kenny P.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on Nick Sirianni right now?
I mean, obviously, like, gotta like the guy, gotta respect him. He did do a lot of dumb shit, was why I hated him, and him not being able to figure out the blitz last year really just took me to another level of just fucking hating the man. He made Hurts look so bad, where it's like if he had proper coaching like he did this year, he shouldn't have struggled so much against the blitz. Like you saw in that game, they never stopped blitzing him, and he made one bad mistake on that pick. Other than that, he was great against the blitz. So, now that we sit here right now, like you can't say a bad word about Sirianni. Like I think he's second all time in wins in his first four seasons, two Super Bowls, and even in his presser last night, he said what I think he should say, which is coaching's a lot easier when you have some of the best players in the world. And that's been my point from the get go, is that Howie has put together this absolute juggernaut of a team. He just needed the right maestro to run it. And, everything I've read and heard especially these last 4 or 5 weeks about Sirianni always being there for these guys, him and Big Dom, like there's a reason these guys aren't getting arrested or not getting in trouble off the field, right? It's him and Big Tom going to these guys' homes at night and dealing with a lot of their off-field shit. And, the fact that he ran that video every week of Peanut Tillman punching the ball out on guys. And then in the playoffs, they had a bunch of big-time punch-outs. And it's like, that's the intangible stuff that we don't know because we just see that he is not doing much game on the field, like game planning and, running the offense or the defense. He's just a guy out there. But the more you look into it, it's like, no, this is the motivator of men. So, yeah, give him his flowers right now. I don't put him on the same level as I do as Peterson or Andy Reid, but he's not far off. Like we have another one or two winning seasons and make it back to another Super Bowl. It's probably gonna be tough to deny. He's probably gonna be the best quarterback in Eagles history. Just like right now, Hurts, he's 26. He's probably gonna end up being the best quarterback in Eagles history if he keeps going on this trajectory. Like even if we only get 6 or 7 more years out of those legs, it's a really big opening right now. Like Darius Slade talked about last night. Like that's a really young, hungry defense that, we're going to lose a lot of guys here in free agency that are really important to this team, but the core is going to be there. So I think we know the offense is together, right? Barkley is going to be back no matter what next year. Smith, the offensive line. I think the only guy we lose is might be the guard, might be Beckman. We got him from the Jets just off a 1-year contract.
Beckman,
So,
right.
It's the type of team that me and you joke all the time. You fade the team like this Eagles team. Like you fade them, a young team wins the Super Bowl. You usually fade them the next year. So that's gonna be interesting diving into that just because everything points to this team regressing super hard. Like
Yeah.
schedule, all of it. Players are going to lose. The coaches, we expect them to lose. Like, once again, Hurts is going to have another new offensive coordinator. So, you know, I'm going to enjoy it right now as an Eagles fan, but as a bettor, I'm seeing a lot of opportunities already.
Uh, let's talk about that for just a couple minutes. Um, because I'm looking at the futures right now. Kansas City plus 650, Eagles plus 650. We had Brandon Anderson on last week. We got who talked about liking the Niners, and he wrote about it on Action Today at 17 to 1. Bills plus 700, Ravens plus 700, Lions plus 900. So, have you made any bets yet? I've made one futures bet so far. Have you made any futures bets?
Yeah, I would say pretty interesting. Eagles actually just moved to the favorite now, so they just moved to plus 650 at a couple of books. So people are hammering this one the day after, right? They're going to cash their tickets, and
Yeah.
I can see a couple of people feeling loyal to this Eagles team, already betting them. But to me, there's no good value there. Right now, shockingly, one of my favorite bets is the Green Bay Packers. You can get them 25 to 1. This is basically a team that I wanted to fade coming into this season because of the hype. Now people are off the scent. And when I look back, I'm like, okay, they had a ton of injuries and Jordan Love was banged up heading into that playoff game. If he can get healthy and they do go out there and get a T. Higgins or somebody to attack their number one receiver, this is a high potent offense with a very young defense. We've talked over the years, they've always drafted defense. They've never figured it out defensively. Whatever that may be, they just have never drafted right, maybe never got the right coaching. That's going to be the major question here. But the fact that they are, you know, 25, 24 to 1 right now, that they're below the Commanders, they're below Cincy right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good opportunity there in a division where coming into the year, once again, everyone's going to be talking about Detroit. Everyone's going to be talking about the Bears. There should be some excitement, right, for this Vikings team if it's JJ or depends what they do at the quarterback position, right? KOC just wins Coach of the Year. You know, I just think Green Bay is the team that's being left for dead right now. So that's the first bet I made. I bet them at 25 to 1. I'm seeing a lot of books now have them at 24 to 1. So still good value to me on that Green Bay team.
I did bet the Niners 17 to 1. I liked Brandon's logic on the Niners, not having done any sort of real thinking about this yet, but Purdy being healthy, Ayuk coming back, McCaffrey coming back, Robert Saleh taking over a defense
Yeah.
that even when they weren't getting good coaching, they all were at high levels in terms of DVOA. They still performed really well as an offense with running backs nobody had heard of. And again, I'm parroting some of Brandon's logic here, but uh, Shanahan has been to 5 of the past 7 NFC championship games. So I took a flyer on Shanahan. He tends to do it like there's a down year and then he comes back, right? So I
Right.
like the Packers a lot too. I'll probably play the Packers just so I can get some kind of, you know, hedge as it gets later in the year and load up on some NFC teams. But I like your idea too. Niners and Packers. That's where we're going
And
to make our first futures bets.
like obviously, like Chad just said, this is super early. So like say like a team I kind of like the Rams, right? Rams were a play away from beating this, upsetting this Eagles team. There's too much unknown with Stafford. That's my hesitation here. Is like I
Yeah.
want to take him, but my fear is that they do move on for Stafford, or he does have bad blood with them because all this off-field stuff with Cooper Cup and him not liking it. But he is, I think his contract, he should be there next year. But that
Yeah.
is a guy that could move. So like, it's intriguing that the 33 to 1. I just wouldn't bet it right now because of all the unknown. So I know I've had a couple of people ask how I felt about the Rams, and I think Chad just nailed it too with his 49ers take, where it's like the Rams, they got away with winning this division this year because it was a down year with the 49ers. We don't expect the same next year. Like they start 1-4 next year, it'd be really tough to come back and win the division like they did this year.
All righty. Great year. Thanks to everybody for sticking with us. So much fun to play these games and to talk through them with Simon and to get the feedback from everybody and both positive and negative because we know feedback is a gift. So we're moving into the off season. By the way, we are going to announce a favorites live event in Chicago end of March for March Madness. It'll be a Saturday night in Chicago, the last Saturday of March. I think that's Saturday, March 29th. Details to follow, but if you're in Chicago, mark your calendars for Saturday, March 29th. Simon and I will be there doing a favorites event. Probably have some special guests talking college basketball too. Well, more details to follow. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. And now new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code favorites. Deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF. In Iowa, terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Simon and I will return with our next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page on Tuesday, next Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars. Say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.